everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we're talking about fear.
That's right. Today we're going to talk about phobias, different types of fears that you have. Many people are scared of different things, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so let's listen to today's dialogue and find out what the people in our dialogue are very, very afraid of.
Are you excited about your trip next month?
Yes and no. I can't wait to go to Europe, but at the same time, I'm terrified.
Why?
Well, I have aerophobia. I have a chronic fear of flying.
Oh, really? I have an uncle who is also terrified of flying. It's not that bad, though. I mean, it is pretty scary to be up in this big machine flying through the air at 700 miles per hour. I actually have arachnophobia.
You're scared of spiders? I actually have two more phobias. Acrophobia and glossophobia.
I guess that explains why you're afraid of flying, but public speaking is not that bad.
Oh, are you kidding? When I get on stage, my palms start to sweat. I get really nervous and I can hardly speak.
Well, I must confess that I am a bit claustrophobic. I hate being in an elevator for more than 5 seconds.
We are such weirdos, right?
All right, we're back, so let's take a look at those phobias on Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
The first phobia that we have is called aerophobia.
That's right, aerophobia, and that means that you are scared of flying.
Okay, so we can tell because phobia means fear of something, but it's not just a fear. It means that if you go on an airplane, you get very, very upset.
Right.
You think that you're going to die.
That's right.
Okay, and so phobia is a very serious fear. But aero, like aeroplane, is the prefix. So aerophobia is a fear of going on airplanes.
That's right. And another phobia that we have is arachnophobia. So again, as you see in the prefix, arachno is related to a spider.
That's right. So this comes from the origins of English. I'm not sure if it's Greek or Latin, but arachnophobia, like arachnid, has to do with spiders. So I'm afraid of spiders if I have arachnophobia.
That is right. And now taking a look at two more types of phobias here, we have acrophobia and glossophobia. So let's take a look at the first one, acrophobia.
So acrophobia, acro has to do with heights. So I don't like to be on tall buildings. I don't like to maybe look down from heights. That means I'm afraid of heights.
That's right. You're afraid of being at a very high altitude. Acrophobia. Now, glossophobia is an interesting one because this one, you are scared of public speaking, or you get very nervous when you're in front of a group of people.
Right. So this is actually a very, very common fear. But if it's a serious fear, it's a phobia. So glossophobia means that when you go in front of people, you get very, very anxious, upset, your stomach hurts, you have wet hands. So that's a very serious fear.
That's right. And for our last phobia, we have claustrophobia. I think is one of the most common ones. If you have claustrophobia, you're afraid of smaller, tight spaces.
That's right. So you heard the word claustrophobic. People who are claustrophobic or people who suffer from claustrophobia don't like to be in small, tight places like elevators, for example.
Or tunnels.
So
now you brought up an interesting point. Our last phobia, we said claustrophobic. And now we must make the difference between, for example, claustrophobia and being claustrophobic.
So a phobia, you hear the ending IA, phobia, claustrophobia, is a noun. Okay, that means I can talk about, I have this fear. But when you're talking about the adjective, something that describes you, you would have to use the ick ending. I'm claustrophobic. He is acrophobic. They are aerophobic.
Okay, so that is the adjective form. So if I say I have arachnophobia, it means I have this fear, or I can say I am arachnophobic.
Great. So this can be used for all other kinds of phobias. So when you learn those words, remember that there's two different kinds. There's the ia, there's the ia, a phobia, which is the noun, and ick, which is the adjective.
All right, let's listen to our dialogue again, and we'll be back in a bit with Fluency Builder.
Are you excited about your trip next month?
Yes and no. I can't wait to go to Europe, but at the same time, I'm terrified.
Why?
Well, I have aerophobia. I have a chronic fear of flying.
Oh, really? I have an uncle who is also terrified of flying. It's not that bad, though. I mean, it is pretty scary to be up in this big machine flying through the air at 700 miles per hour. I actually have arachnophobia.
You're scared of spiders? I actually have two more phobias, acrophobia and glossophobia.
I guess that explains why you're afraid of flying, but public speaking is not that bad.
Are you kidding? When I get on stage, my palms start to sweat. I get really nervous and I can hardly speak.
Well, I must confess that I am a bit claustrophobic. I hate being in an elevator for more than 5 seconds.
We are such weirdos, right?
All right, so we've picked out a couple of different phrases today. Let's take a look at those now on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
So in the beginning of today's dialogue, the character said, I cannot wait to go to Europe, but at the same time, I'm terrified. So at the same time.
So in this case, we're saying that we are happy, but also we are scared. So two things at once, at the same time.
Right. So this is a little bit different from when we talk about I can do two things at the same time. I can walk and chew gum. When we're talking about feelings or emotions, you say, I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm also scared.
Right.
That means that I have these two feelings, and actually, they're opposite feelings.
Right, exactly. Usually they are opposite feelings. So, like you say, you're happy, but at the same time, you're nervous.
It's like saying, on the other hand.
Exactly. All right. Now, when we talked about all these fears, we're afraid of flying, we are afraid of spiders, we describe them as a chronic fear.
Okay, so this adjective chronic is very important because it has to do with time. Okay, so I have a chronic fear of heights. That means this is a fear I've always had. Okay, and I will always have.
Right.
You can also say she has chronic back pain. Okay, that means it comes back again and again. It's not just one time. It's some person's whole life, maybe. Not every day, but it comes back.
Right. Okay, so that's, if you say you have a chronic something, you're explaining that you've had it for a while or you will always have it. It's something usually very serious also. And going back to one of the phobias, we mentioned glossophobia. And the other person said, well, public speaking is not that bad. It's not something to be so afraid of. And the other person replied by saying, are you kidding?
Are you kidding? So this is actually a way of showing some sarcasm when you're talking, because public speaking is not that bad. The person wants to say, no, it is that bad.
Right.
It is awful. So are you kidding is a way to say, no, I totally disagree.
Right. So you're being a little bit sarcastic, but at the same time, you're also acting a bit surprised. Like, I can't believe you said that. Or
like if I said, I really like the Twilight movies, Marco.
Are you kidding? Those movies are terrible.
All right. So Marco does not agree with my opinion.
All right. Now, when we're talking about public speaking, we mentioned that you get on stage. So this is very important because this is the action, to get on stage and speak.
Okay, so if you have a stage or maybe even you don't have a stage, but you're talking about performing in front of other people, like a speech or a play, you say you get on stage. And it's important to remember this as a phrase. So
Right.
Whenever I get on stage, I start to sweat.
Now, you may want to add the there. You want to say to get on the stage, but it's not necessary. It's not incorrect, but the usual or let's say more correct form would just be use the phrase to get on stage. When I get on stage, I get very nervous. You don't have to say when I get on the stage.
Or she's normally very shy, but when she gets on stage, she opens up and becomes very, very talkative.
That's right. All right, so that's all the phrases we've picked out for you. Let's listen to our dialogue one last time, and we'll be right back.
Are you excited about your trip next month?
Yes and no. I can't wait to go to Europe, but at the same time, I'm terrified.
Why?
Well, I have aerophobia. I have a chronic fear of flying.
Oh, really? I have an uncle who is also terrified of flying. It's not that bad, though. I mean, it is pretty scary to be up in this big machine flying through the air at 700 miles per hour. I actually have arachnophobia.
You're scared of spiders? I actually have two more phobias. Acrophobia and glossophobia.
I guess that explains why you're afraid of flying, but public speaking is not that bad.
Oh, are you kidding? When I get on stage, my palms start to sweat. I get really nervous and I can hardly speak.
Well, I must confess that I am a bit claustrophobic. I hate being in an elevator for more than 5 seconds.
We are such weirdos, right?
All right, so talking about all these phobias. Now, one of these phobias was actually made into a movie, I think in 1990. Arachnophobia, this very chronic fear of spiders.
That's right. And so I remember when I was younger and this movie came out, everybody started talking about how they were arachnophobic. They had this horrible fear of spiders. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah, of course. It was
terrifying.
Yes, it was supposedly some South American spider that made its way into the United States in a box, in a crate or something. Now, many people handle phobias differently. Now, do you have any phobia? Or are you claustrophobic? Are you arachnophobic?
I don't have any phobias, and I'm not really afraid of anything, so I'm pretty lucky that way. But I know a number of people who are afraid of heights, acrophobic, and so it's pretty common.
And actually, if you look it up, you will find in the dictionary maybe hundreds of phobias. People who are afraid of open spaces, people who are afraid of closed spaces, or people who are afraid of marriage. They even have a phobia determined for this type of person. So it's very interesting. Now, this is going to be a challenge. Why don't you look up a couple of different phobias and share it with us? Maybe some of the craziest ones, or the funniest ones, or maybe the strangest ones you can find.
That's right. So look them up, share them with us. Our website is englishpod.com.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Journey to a place. Trip. To fill with terror or alarm, make greatly afraid. Terrify. An abnormal fear of drafts of air, gases, or airborne matter. Aerophobia. Constant, habitual. Chronic. Irrational fear of a specific object, activity. Phobia. The fear of public speaking. Glossophobia. A pathological fear of heights. Acrophobia. To excrete through the pores of skin. Sweat. Being worried about what might happen. Nervous. Fool or joke. Kidding. An abnormal fear of being in enclosed or narrow places. Claustrophobia. To admit or acknowledge something damaging. Confess. A strange person. Weirdo.
Let's try that faster.
Fool or joke. Kidding. To fill with terror or alarm, make greatly afraid. Terrify. Journey to a place. Trip. Being worried about what might happen. Nervous. Irrational fear of a specific object, activity. Phobia. To admit or acknowledge something damaging. Confess. A strange person. Weirdo. Constant, habitual. Chronic. A pathological fear of heights. Acrophobia. To excrete through the pores of skin. Sweat. An abnormal fear of being in enclosed or narrow places. Claustrophobia. The fear of public speaking. Glossophobia. An abnormal fear of drafts of air, gases, or airborne matter. Aerophobia.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Chronic. I feel sick. I have a chronic headache that won't go away. Chronic. I don't listen to my neighbor anymore as he is a chronic liar. Chronic. When I was watching that horror movie, I was in a chronic state of suspense. Phobia. I have a phobia of spiders. Whenever I see one, I run for the hills. Phobia. She tried to cure her phobia of heights by going bungee jumping. Phobia. My dad said the only way to cure your phobia is to tackle it head on. Confess. I must confess that I love chocolate milkshakes. Confess. Can I confess something to you if you promise to keep it a secret? Confess. The judge reduced his sentence after he confessed to his crime. Nervous. I always get so nervous when I go on the roller coaster. Nervous. She looked very nervous when she walked in for her job interview. Nervous. I was so nervous on a date with a girl I liked that I accidentally spilled wine on her dress. Kidding. My dad likes to tell me that he is an alien. I know he is kidding. Kidding. I'm going to eat you. Haha, just kidding. Kidding. You must be kidding. Another parking ticket.
Hello Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we're talking a little bit about going to sleep or not being able to sleep.
That's right. We are having some sleeping problems, and we're actually going to check out a couple of words related to this topic right now on Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
Okay, so the first word is actually the technical word that describes being unable to sleep. It's called insomnia.
Right. So if you have insomnia, it means that you can't fall asleep. You can't sleep.
Okay, so this is a pretty serious condition. For example, if you have insomnia and you don't sleep for 3 or 4 nights, you're not going to do very well at work, right?
Right. Or if you're studying, you're tired at school, you can't concentrate. So it's a very big problem.
What's that other word, though? We have insomnia, but we also have another interesting disorder.
Right. If somebody is able to sleep but walks while they're sleeping, that person is called a sleepwalker.
That's right. And you don't actually just have to walk to be a sleepwalker.
Right.
You can do any number of strange things like basically acting like you're awake when you're not.
Exactly. So some people get up and walk, actually go outside. Some people get dressed. Some people even go downstairs and cook.
Yeah, that's right. And the worst is the people who eat because they gain weight and they don't know why.
Exactly. So sleepwalking is what you do. And if you do this, you're called a sleepwalker.
Okay, sleepwalk is the verb. Sleepwalker is the noun or the person.
All right, so we've taken a look at 2 words that we're going to find in our dialogue today. Why don't we go now and listen to the dialogue for the first time?
Alex, what's up with you? You look dreadful.
Hey, Jill. I don't know. I've been having trouble sleeping these past few weeks. I usually lie in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. I've tried stretching and different breathing techniques before going to bed. I've tried eating and not eating different foods. I've even tried counting sheep. And then, when I finally get to sleep, I have these really disturbing nightmares. So I usually wake up in a panic and more tired than before I went to sleep.
Wow. Maybe you should get that checked out. Maybe you're stressed?
Just take some sedatives. Works for me. Every so often, having some melatonin on hand helps me when I have trouble sleeping. It works on all kinds of sleeping disorders. It's the stuff pilots use to regulate their sleeping patterns.
I heard of that. But does that apply to Alex's situation?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Sounds like he only has transient insomnia since it's a recent thing, so taking melatonin should do the trick.
But shouldn't he be looking into why it's been happening?
Well, aren't you the little psychologist? Our buddy's having trouble sleeping. It's easy and curable. It's not something freakish like if he was a sleepwalker.
Well, there's that too.
All right, we're back. So obviously this person not only has insomnia, but also has nightmares, sleepwalks, a mess.
That's right. And you can tell when someone hasn't been sleeping well. They have that look like there's bags under their eyes or they just look really tired. And so the friend here says, Alex, you look dreadful.
That's right, dreadful. So this is an adjective and it's a way to describe someone that looks terrible. You look horrible. You look tired. You look sleepy.
That's right. So this is not a compliment. This is something that you say when you're worried about someone. So for example, if someone's really, really tired, you say, you look dreadful. Or if someone is wearing very dirty clothes, they don't look like they went home yesterday, you say, oh, what's wrong? You look dreadful.
Right. I think you can also use it to describe objects or maybe food, right? Mm-hmm. This lasagna is dreadful.
It means it's very bad.
Right.
And you don't want to say that to the person who cooked it, of course.
Exactly. All right. So the person, obviously, because is suffering from insomnia, looks dreadful. And he was explaining what he does to try to fall asleep. For example, counting sheep, stretching, and he also said that he tried different breathing techniques.
Okay, so basically a technique is an approach to something, a kind of method. Mm-hmm. But in this case, we're talking about breathing techniques. So for some people, one breathing technique is breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. Mm-hmm. Like that. So that's one kind of technique.
So a technique, as you say, is a way of doing something.
Yes.
So breathing techniques are different ways of breathing. So maybe you will relax, so maybe you'll fall asleep, things like this.
Exactly. It's one of those things that you might learn about in a yoga class, for example. There's different breathing techniques.
Right, and you can combine techniques with other words as well, adding the ing. For example, you have walking techniques, maybe to put less stress on your knees, or running techniques, swimming techniques. I think there's a technique for almost everything.
Just about anything you can do, there's a technique for it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and well, moving on, he was talking about his nightmares, and he described his nightmares as disturbing. He has disturbing nightmares.
Okay, well, I think this is an important word to cover here, Marco, because we've heard the verb to disturb before. Like, I'm sorry to disturb you. It means I'm sorry to bother you. But disturbing is an adjective. It describes something that makes me very uncomfortable, right?
Right.
So, for example, a lot of times in the news, we see very disturbing images, car accidents or fires or bombs. And what's disturbing is when you see human beings who have been hurt. So, images that make you really uncomfortable or sad, these are disturbing.
Exactly. So disturbing nightmares are nightmares that are not very pleasant. They make him scared maybe or uncomfortable.
Right. Like a dream, for example, where your parents die. It's pretty disturbing.
Exactly. All right. And well, one of his friends recommended, you know what? Stop with all of this. Just take some sedatives.
Okay, so sedatives are a kind of medicine that help a person relax or that help make a person tired.
Right. So I think it comes from the verb to sedate.
Yes.
And basically that is to calm down, to tranquilize.
That's right. So in this case, we're talking about a person, but you can also give an animal sedatives. For example, if you want to take your dog on an airplane, the dog needs to relax, you give it some sedatives.
Exactly. And I think when he mentioned a specific name of a sedative, it's melatonin.
That's right. So melatonin, melatonin is a chemical that our bodies naturally produce that help calm us down. And so a lot of pharmaceutical companies or drug companies sell melatonin in a pill form. It's a chemical that helps you relax.
Exactly. So obviously if you take melatonin, you're going to feel sleepy or you're going to be very relaxed and you're going to fall asleep a lot easier.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully. That's right. So, and well, the whole thing that we've been talking about, insomnia, sleepwalking, these are called sleeping disorders.
Right. Or you might also hear the term sleep disorders. They mean problems with sleeping. So people who either cannot fall asleep or people who have bad dreams or people who sleepwalk.
Exactly. So a disorder is something of an illness or a condition that is not normal. So for example, as you said, a sleeping disorder or a sleep disorder, it means that you're not able to sleep properly or normally.
But there are other kinds of disorders, right?
Right. I guess many people have heard of eating disorders.
Okay, so that's basically people who do not eat like everyone else.
Exactly. So that's what happens with a disorder. All right. So we've taken a look at a lot of vocab. Now it's time for us to take a look at Fluency Builder. But before that, why don't we listen to the dialogue again?
Alex, what's up with you? You look dreadful.
Hey, Jill. I don't know. I've been having trouble sleeping these past few weeks. I usually lie in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. I've tried stretching and different breathing techniques before going to bed. I've tried eating and not eating different foods. I've even tried counting sheep. And then, when I finally get to sleep, I have these really disturbing nightmares. So I usually wake up in a panic and more tired than before I went to sleep.
Wow. Maybe you should get that checked out. Maybe you're stressed?
Just take some sedatives. Works for me. Every so often, having some melatonin on hand helps me when I have trouble sleeping. It works on all kinds of sleeping disorders. It's the stuff pilots use to regulate their sleeping patterns.
I heard of that. But does that apply to Alex's situation?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Sounds like he only has transient insomnia since it's a recent thing, so taking melatonin should do the trick.
But shouldn't he be looking into why it's been happening?
Well, aren't you the little psychologist? Our buddy's having trouble sleeping. It's easy and curable. It's not something freakish like if he was a sleepwalker.
Well, there's that too.
All right, we're back. So now we have three main phrases for Fluency Builder. Why don't we start with the first one?
Okay, so you heard in today's dialogue an interesting phrase. I don't know if it exists in other languages, but in English we say when you're trying to fall asleep, there's a good technique to help you do so. You count sheep.
Yeah, I think you see it in cartoons all the time. A person is sleeping, and over that cartoon's head is a little cloud, and you see sheep jumping over a fence, right?
So, yeah, basically there's a fence, and you say 1, 2,
Right.
3, and the process of counting helps relax a person.
And then you fall asleep.
Right.
So counting sheep, I guess you're not literally out in a field counting sheep. You're just imagining sheep in your head, and you're trying to fall asleep.
That's right, counting sheep.
All right. And, well, one of his friends recommended that maybe he should go to a doctor. And Jill said that by saying, maybe you should get that checked out.
Okay, so to get something checked out, to get it checked out, this means to have a professional give you a suggestion, or to have a professional look at something.
Exactly. So maybe you should get examined. Maybe you should go to the doctor.
This isn't just about disorders, right? I mean, what if I have a sore tooth? I could say this.
Right. So if you have a toothache, I would recommend, maybe you should get that checked out by my dentist.
Right. Or maybe if you have a bad rash, your skin is very red. I say, Marco, I think you should get that checked out by a doctor.
Exactly. So to get something checked, to get something examined by a doctor or a professional. All right. And the last phrase that we have for you.
So the last phrase we have today comes from a suggestion at the end. The friend suggests taking melatonin. And he says, listen, taking melatonin should do the trick.
Right. So if you end a phrase by saying that should do the trick, basically you're saying that should solve your problem. That should help you.
Exactly. So the trick, you don't have to think about what the trick is. It's just a way of saying it should fix your problem. So for example, when someone is fixing my car and they have one more thing to do and it's finished, he says, the car mechanic might say, that should do the trick.
Right.
That means problem solved.
Or maybe you want to hang a picture on your wall. So somebody puts a nail in the wall and that should do the trick, and maybe that'll hold up the painting.
Done.
Okay. So that's a way of saying that should solve the problem. This should be the solution. That should be all.
Okay.
Okay. So why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue one last time?
Alex, what's up with you? You look dreadful.
Hey, Jill. I don't know. I've been having trouble sleeping these past few weeks. I usually lie in bed for hours trying to get to sleep. I've tried stretching and different breathing techniques before going to bed. I've tried eating and not eating different foods. I've even tried counting sheep. And then, when I finally get to sleep, I have these really disturbing nightmares. So I usually wake up in a panic and more tired than before I went to sleep.
Wow. Maybe you should get that checked out. Maybe you're stressed?
Just take some sedatives. Works for me. Every so often, having some melatonin on hand helps me when I have trouble sleeping. It works on all kinds of sleeping disorders. It's the stuff pilots use to regulate their sleeping patterns.
I heard of that. But does that apply to Alex's situation?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Sounds like he only has transient insomnia since it's a recent thing, so taking melatonin should do the trick.
But shouldn't he be looking into why it's been happening?
Well, aren't you the little psychologist? Our buddy's having trouble sleeping. It's easy and curable. It's not something freakish like if he was a sleepwalker.
Well, there's that too.
All right, we're back. So talking about dreaming, nightmares, insomnia, all of this, what do you do if you can't fall asleep?
I don't really have this problem personally because
Fall asleep anywhere.
I could fall asleep anywhere, anytime. Knock on wood.
I've heard some people take like warm milk before going to sleep.
Yes, some people take milk, although I also heard that dairy products before bedtime can make you have nightmares.
Oh, really?
If you eat cheese before bed.
I've heard that as well. I've heard that if you have seafood before bed, you'll have nightmares as well. But actually, have you ever had a dream when you are doing something and you wake up in the middle of that?
Yes.
I remember once I was dreaming, I was drinking a soda, And all of a sudden I woke up and I had my hand like in the air, like doing
Weird.
the action of me actually drinking the soda.
Actually, sometimes this happens to me when I'm falling asleep. I imagine I'm on a bike or something, and I start to feel myself moving my legs. And I wake up and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? So the brain is very strange, I think, especially in those times when you're kind of asleep and you're kind of awake.
Also, when you wake up suddenly, I don't know if other people have experienced this, but you feel like you're falling or something.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you just wake up like with a shake.
Yeah, your body moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
It's very scary. Your heart starts to beat. I don't know why that happens though.
It's unusual. Well, we're curious to know what your sleep habits are. Do you have a hard time sleeping, or are you like me? It's very easy for you to fall asleep. Let us know at our website, englishpod.com.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
The English Pod audio review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Let's try that faster.
A dream that caused horror. Nightmare. Fall asleep. Go to sleep. A drug that calms or relaxes someone. Sedative. The regular time of sleeping. Sleeping pattern. People who have a medical disorder of the sleep. Sleeping disorder. Accomplish the desired task. Do the trick. Fall asleep. Get to sleep.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Get to sleep. Sometimes I need to put on some music in order to get to sleep. Get to sleep. I got to sleep really late last night because I couldn't stop worrying about my presentation today. Get to sleep. I couldn't get to sleep until after midnight. Nightmare. I've had the same nightmare night after night for the past month. Nightmare. I woke up from my nightmare just before I found out what was behind the door. Nightmare. I never have dreams, but every so often I get nightmares. Sedative. They gave me a sedative before I went into surgery. Sedative. I often use a mild sedative in order to calm myself down when I get anxious. Sedative. I've heard that some people put sedatives in other people's drinks at bars in order to rob them. Sleeping pattern. My sleeping patterns have been all over the place recently. Sleeping pattern. I have a consistent sleeping pattern and I intend to stick to it. Sleeping pattern. I managed to regulate my sleeping pattern, so now I can't even sleep in if I wanted to. Do the trick. If you start getting tired while studying, drinking some coffee should do the trick. Do the trick. Just add some more salt to the soup and that should do the trick. Do the trick. If you turn up the volume of the microphone a bit, it should do the trick.
Welcome back, English learners. My name is Marco, and I'm joined here by the lovely
Erica.
And today we're going to be bringing you another great lesson, one of the lessons that you requested.
Yes, that's right. Actually, Maxim S requested this one.
Right. I think he's really into research and investigation, so we're bringing you a great lesson about this topic.
Okay, so I'm really excited to hear this dialogue all about research. So why don't we start listening to two university professors discussing an important question.
We've been over this 1,000 times. The data is irrefutable. Look, we've done extensive research, built studies, and read the literature, and there is conclusive evidence to support my theory.
Horowitz, I beg to differ. Even in your most recent study, the investigative approach was flawed. You know as well as I do, the collection of data was not systematic, and there's a large margin of error. To draw a definitive conclusion based on that data would be misleading.
That is preposterous.
You are trying to single-handedly solve one of the world's greatest mysteries, and yet you're oblivious to the fact that you're wrong.
I am not wrong. The chicken came first.
No! The egg came first!
The chicken.
Egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
All right, so interesting. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
It's an age-old question, isn't it?
And apparently, they are not going to agree anytime soon.
All right, well, what they can agree about is this awesome language. So why don't we take a look at it now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Okay, on Language Takeaway today, we have some really great words, and this first one is really good. Irrefutable.
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 The data is irrefutable.
Okay, so if the professor says that the data is irrefutable, what does he mean by that?
He's saying that you cannot deny it. It is really, really true.
It is really true. There is no way this is a lie.
Exactly.
Okay. Irrefutable evidence, for example.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. All right, so the professor complained that Dr. Horowitz's experiment was flawed.
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 So, flawed. Is that an adjective, a verb, or a noun?
It is an adjective here. Now, when something is flawed, there is a problem with it, right?
Okay,
There's
so
a
it
mistake.
has an error.
Yep.
Okay. So this adjective is a way of saying that his experiment has a flaw.
A mistake.
A mistake.
Exactly.
So flawed is the adjective of a flaw.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the reason that his study or his experiment was flawed is because that it was not systematic.
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 So systematic. That's an interesting word.
Now, I think we can recognize the word system in here, right?
Right?
So when something is systematic, it follows a process.
A certain order.
Yes, a certain system.
Right. So that's basically what systematic means, to follow a certain order, to be more organized, right?
Exactly, yep.
Okay. And what about our next word?
Preposterous.
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 That is preposterous.
I love this phrase.
It usually goes together, right? That is preposterous.
Yep.
Okay, so what does it mean when I say that?
It means it's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Right. It doesn't make sense. I can't believe you said that.
All right. Well, this is a really interesting phrase, but I think it's a little bit more common when it's used by older people.
Yeah, I don't really see a young person going up to someone and say, "Hey, that's preposterous."
Yeah, but it is a wonderful phrase. Now, our final phrase for takeaway: oblivious.
Oblivious.
You're oblivious to the fact.
So a person that is oblivious to something.
They don't know, or they're unaware.
Okay, so they ignore maybe the facts, or
Exactly.
they don't see it.
Yeah, you're oblivious to the fact that we're in a recession.
Okay, or he is completely oblivious. you can just say it like that, right?
Yep, he doesn't know.
Okay, so we took a look at some of the great vocabulary we found in the dialogue, but there were also some really good phrases that I think we should look at.
Okay, and let's take a look at those and putting it together.
Putting it together.
You know, Marco, one of the things I love about English is the way that words seem to fit together, like blocks coming together. And here we have a lot of great examples of these words that fit together really nicely. Okay, so why don't we look at those? And our first one now is extensive research.
Extensive research.
Extensive research.
All right, so we know extensive means
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
So that's really good when you put it together. Extensive research. It means you have
A lot of research.
you have really studied, you have really looked things up. Okay, extensive research.
Another great research-related phrase here is conclusive evidence.
Conclusive evidence.
Conclusive evidence.
All right, now the first word there, conclusive.
When something is conclusive, you can't argue with it. It's the final decision. All right, well, the professor complained that Horowitz's investigative approach was flawed, right? So this is our next phrase, investigative approach.
Investigative approach.
Investigative approach.
Okay, so I remember the word investigate is a verb.
Yes?
But in this case, it's
It's an adjective.
an adjective,
When something is investigative, it's obviously having to do with...
an investigation. So the approach so when he said investigative approach.
just simply the way you investigate
Okay.
the problem.
The way he investigated. Okay. Very interesting. What about this other phrase that I saw? It was really interesting. Definitive conclusion.
Definitive conclusion.
So a definitive conclusion.
All right. Well, again, I think we know the word conclusion, right?
Okay.
So it's a final judgment or decision.
All right.
When something is definitive, you can't argue with it or change it.
Okay, so the conclusion or the final result is final. Like there is no way of arguing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Definitive conclusion.
This is some great language. So why don't we listen to it one more time in the dialogue?
We've been over this 1,000 times. The data is irrefutable. Look, we've done extensive research, built studies, and read the literature, and there is conclusive evidence to support my theory.
Horowitz, I beg to differ. Even in your most recent study, the investigative approach was flawed. You know as well as I do, the collection of data was not systematic, and there's a large margin of error. To draw a definitive conclusion based on that data would be misleading.
That is preposterous.
You are trying to single-handedly solve one of the world's greatest mysteries, and yet you're oblivious to the fact that you're wrong.
I am not wrong. The chicken came first.
No! The egg came first!
The chicken.
Egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
So, an interesting question. What do you think? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, if you ask me, it was the egg.
It was the egg?
Yeah.
Interesting. What about why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side.
Do you think that's really the reason?
Well, there's a million different reasons, but this is great. I'm glad you brought that up because this is like the classic English joke.
The classic English joke, right? Why did the chicken cross the road? And the answer is always...
Well, there are a million answers. So, do you guys know any chicken jokes?
Yeah, why don't you come to our website, englishpod.com, and on the comments section, why don't you leave us your thoughts on what came first, the chicken or the egg, and why do you think the chicken crossed the road?
Research. Research is the process of finding new information, answering questions, and solving problems. It helps people learn more about the world and make better decisions. Research is used in many fields, such as science, medicine, business, and education. Students, teachers, scientists, and professionals all use research to improve their knowledge and understanding. Why is research important? Research is important because it helps people gain knowledge. Without research, we would not know about history, medicine, technology, or the universe. Research helps doctors find new treatments for diseases. Scientists discover new planets. And businesses understand what customers want. It also helps students learn and develop new ideas. Research allows people to solve problems. For example, if a city has too much traffic, research can help find ways to reduce congestion. If a company wants to sell a new product, research can show what customers need. In education, research helps teachers find better ways to teach students. Types of research. Research is done in many different fields and for different reasons. The way research is conducted depends on the goal, the subject, and the methods used. Some research is based on experiments, while others rely on studying past information. Here are some of the main types of research. Scientific research. Scientific research focuses on understanding the natural world, technology, medicine, and human health. Scientists perform experiments, collect data, and analyze results to discover new knowledge. For example, medical researchers study diseases to find new treatments, while physicists explore the laws of the universe. This type of research helps improve medicine, technology, and our understanding of the environment. Historical research. Historical research is the study of past events, people, and cultures. Historians look at old books, letters, newspapers, and artifacts to learn about history. This research helps people understand how societies have changed over time and how past decisions influence the present. For example, researchers study ancient civilizations to learn how they lived, what they believed, and how they built cities. Social research. Social research focuses on human behavior, cultures, and societies. Sociologists and psychologists study how people interact, what influences their decisions, and how societies change. This type of research helps improve education, economics, and social policies. For example, researchers study how children learn in different environments or how people react to advertisements. Market research. Market research is done by businesses to understand customer needs, preferences, and behaviors. Companies collect information through surveys, interviews, and product testing. This research helps businesses create better products, improve customer service, and increase sales. For example, a company may research which colors people prefer for a new smartphone or what type of food is most popular in a certain area. Educational research. Educational research helps improve teaching methods and learning experiences. Teachers and researchers study how students learn, which teaching techniques are most effective, and how technology can support education. This type of research helps schools develop better curriculums and improve student performance. For example, researchers may study whether online learning is as effective as classroom learning. Medical research. Medical research helps doctors and scientists find new ways to treat and prevent diseases. This type of research includes testing new medicines, studying viruses, and improving surgical techniques. It helps save lives and improve the quality of healthcare. For example, researchers work to develop vaccines for new diseases and find better treatments for cancer. Environmental research. Environmental research focuses on nature, climate, and ecosystems. Scientists study air pollution, deforestation, and global warming to find ways to protect the environment. This type of research helps create solutions for clean energy, water conservation, and wildlife protection. For example, researchers study how plastic pollution affects the ocean and how to reduce it. The research process. The research process is a step-by-step way of finding, analyzing, and understanding information. Good research follows a clear process to ensure accuracy and reliability. Choosing a topic. The first step in research is deciding what to study. Researchers choose a topic based on their interests, current problems, or gaps in knowledge. A good research topic is specific, clear, and meaningful. For example, instead of researching climate change, A researcher may focus on the effects of climate change on Arctic wildlife, gathering information. Once the topic is chosen, researchers collect information from different sources. These sources include books, academic journals, websites, interviews, and past studies. It is important to use reliable sources to ensure the accuracy of the information. Government reports, university studies, and expert interviews are considered trustworthy sources. Asking questions. Research begins with a question that needs an answer. This question helps guide the study and keeps it focused. For example, a researcher studying healthy eating may ask, "How does sugar affect children's energy levels?" Good research questions help researchers find useful information, conducting experiments and surveys. Some research includes experiments, where scientists test different ideas to see what works. Other research involves surveys, where people answer questions to provide data. For example, a scientist testing a new medicine may compare how two groups of people react to it. A company studying customer behavior may conduct a survey to learn what products people like the most. Analyzing data. After gathering information, researchers study it carefully. They look for patterns, trends, and important facts. This step helps them understand what the information means. For example, if researchers collect data on how much exercise people do in a week, they may find that people who exercise more are healthier. Drawing conclusions. Once the data is analyzed, researchers make conclusions based on their findings. They decide what the information tells them and how it can be used. If the research is about a new medicine, they determine if it is safe and effective. If the research is about education, they see if a teaching method helps students learn better. Sharing results. The final step in the research process is sharing the findings. Researchers write reports, publish articles, or present their results at conferences. This allows others to learn from the research and use it for future studies. Sharing results is important because it helps advance knowledge and solve problems. Challenges in research. Research can be difficult because it takes time, effort, and resources. One challenge is finding accurate and reliable information. Not all sources are trustworthy, and some may contain incorrect or biased information. Researchers must be careful and check multiple sources before making conclusions. Another challenge is time and cost. Research, especially scientific research, can take months or years to complete. Some research needs expensive equipment, travel, or large teams of researchers. Funding from governments, universities, or companies is often required. Ethical issues are another challenge in research. Researchers must follow ethical guidelines to protect people, animals, and the environment. For example, medical researchers must test medicines safely, and social researchers must respect people's privacy. The importance of research. Research is important because it helps people find answers, solve problems, and learn new things. It is used in medicine, business, education, and many other fields. Research improves technology, health, and knowledge. It allows people to make better decisions and develop new ideas. Whether studying history, science, business, or social behavior, research helps expand our understanding of the world. By following a clear process, using reliable sources, and analyzing information carefully, anyone can conduct good research. It is a valuable skill that helps students, professionals, and experts improve their work and make a positive impact on society. Challenges in research. Research can be difficult. One challenge is finding reliable information. Not all sources are trustworthy, and some may contain false or biased information. Researchers must check multiple sources to confirm accuracy. Another challenge is time. Research takes a lot of time, especially when conducting experiments or collecting data. Researchers must be patient and careful in their work. Some research requires funding. Scientific research, for example, often needs expensive equipment and laboratories. Researchers must find financial support from universities, companies, or governments. Ethics in research. Ethics in research means following rules to ensure fairness and honesty. Researchers must not lie about their findings or change data to fit their opinions. They must also respect the rights of people who participate in studies. For example, if a researcher studies human behavior, they must ask for permission from participants and protect their privacy. Scientific researchers must also consider the environment and animals. For example, medical researchers testing new drugs must follow ethical guidelines to ensure safety. Research in everyday life. Research is not just for scientists and students. It is part of everyday life. People do research when they read product reviews before buying something, compare different job opportunities, or look for the best travel destinations. Parents do research to find good schools for their children, and doctors research the best treatments for patients. The internet has made research easier. People can find information quickly with search engines, online libraries, and educational websites. However, it is important to check if the information is true and reliable. The future of research. Research is always changing and improving. Technology has made it easier to find and share information. Artificial intelligence, AI, is helping researchers analyze data faster. Scientists are using advanced tools to explore space, cure diseases, and solve environmental problems. Education is also benefiting from research. Online learning, virtual classrooms, and new teaching methods are improving education worldwide. Research continues to shape the way people learn and communicate. Conclusion. Research is an important part of learning and problem solving. It helps people find answers, make better decisions, and improve the world. Whether studying history, science, business, or health, research provides valuable knowledge. By using reliable sources, following ethical guidelines, and asking good questions, anyone can become a better researcher. Research is not just for experts, it is a skill that everyone can use in daily life.